Some daughters are born to be loved, and some are born to be used. My name is Anaya, and this is not a story I ever wanted to tell. But silence has already taken too much from me. I was the eldest daughter of my family, the kind people proudly call Gar ki Zimidar Beti. From the outside, our home looked warm, respectable, and full of love. Inside, it quietly survived on my sacrifices. Everything changed the day my father met with a terrible accident. One moment he was the backbone of our house, and the next, he was confined to a bed, unable to walk, unable to speak properly, unable to earn. Doctors said his body survived, but his strength never returned. That day, I lost my father. And I lost my future. I was a university student back then. I had dreams, small ones, maybe, but they were mine. I wanted to finish my education, stand on my own feet, and make my parents proud. But reality doesn't ask permission before destroying your plans. Hospital bills kept piling up. Medicines became more expensive than hope. And someone had to step up. So I did. I left my studies without a farewell. No graduation. No tears. Just a silent decision made in the corner of a hospital corridor. From that day on, I worked day and night, tutoring children, stitching clothes, doing office work, anything that paid. I became the second parent of the house. My mother leaned on me for everything. My father depended on me completely. And my younger sister, Zara, she became my responsibility. Zara was brilliant. Everyone said she would become a doctor one day. And I believed them. I sold my gold bangles, the ones my father had gifted me on my 18th birthday, to pay her admission fees. I skipped meals so she could attend coaching classes. I smiled through exhaustion because someone had to stay strong. People praised me. Anaya is the soul of this house, they said. Such a devoted daughter, they whispered. And I believed that maybe, just maybe, love would come back to me in return. Years passed like that. Zara became a doctor. My father remained bedridden. And I aged faster than my years. Then one night, my father held my hand and looked at me with tired eyes. He tried to speak, but his words trembled. "Beta, you did everything," he whispered. I thought that was his blessing. I didn't know it was a goodbye. A few weeks later, my father passed away. The house fell silent. And I believed my suffering had finally earned me peace. I was wrong. Because sometimes, the real betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes after the funeral. Wrapped inside legal papers. And signed by the people you trusted the most. And I was about to learn that my sacrifices were never seen as love. They were seen as duty. Sometimes survival means leaving the place that is slowly killing you. I spent 3 nights in that storeroom. 3 nights where the cold floor felt warmer than my family's hearts. 3 nights where every breath reminded me that I was no longer welcome in the house I had built with my sacrifices. On the 4th morning, I looked at myself in the cracked mirror hanging on the wall. I barely recognized the woman staring back. Dark circles under tired eyes. Hands rough from years of work. A face that had forgotten how to ask for anything. That was when I understood something painfully clear. If I stayed, I would disappear. Not suddenly, but slowly. As a servant. As a shadow. As a reminder of what they wanted to forget. So I made a decision. I packed my life into one small bag. 2 suits. Some documents. And the last photograph of my father holding my hand, the only proof that once, someone had seen me. Before leaving, I went to the kitchen to drink water. Zara was sitting at the table, scrolling on her phone, sipping coffee from my favorite cup. She looked up and frowned. "Where are you going so early?" she asked. I smiled. "I'm going to live," I replied. She laughed. "Don't be dramatic, Anaya. You don't have anything. No degree. No husband. No house." She was right. I had nothing. Except experience. Except pain. Except a strength built from years of endurance. And those things, they don't show up in wills. My mother didn't stop me. She watched from the doorway, arms crossed, eyes dry. "Don't come back crying," she said. "The world isn't kind to women like you. Women like me. Women who give too much. Women who stay silent too long." I stepped outside without looking back. The sun felt unfamiliar on my face, like I had been locked indoors for years. Every step away from that house felt heavy, but free. I stayed at a cheap women's hostel that night. The room was small. The bed was hard. But for the first time in years, it was mine. That night, I cried. Not loudly. Not dramatically. I cried quietly, for the girl who sacrificed her dreams, for the woman who was never thanked, for the sister who was betrayed. But when the tears stopped, something else remained. Resolve. The next morning, I opened my old email. Dozens of rejection messages. Expired opportunities. Dreams paused, but not dead. I updated my resume, not with degrees, but with reality. Managed household finances for 10 years. Supported medical education through independent income. Handled crisis management and caregiving. Worked multiple jobs under pressure. I walked into offices where no one knew my past. Where no one called me FARS. Where my worth was measured by results, not gender. I was rejected. Again and again. But I didn't stop. Because I had already survived worse than rejection. Weeks later, a small firm hired me as an assistant. Low salary. Long hours. I accepted without hesitation. Every paycheck felt like oxygen. Every task taught me something new. At night, when exhaustion hit, I reminded myself. This pain is temporary. But staying there would have been permanent death. I wasn't running away. I was rebuilding. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered. One day, they will hear my name again. And when they do, it won't be from me begging. It will be from them needing me. I thought my father's death was the end of my pain. I didn't know it was only the beginning. After my father was buried, the house felt heavier than ever. Not because of grief, but because of waiting. Waiting for answers. Waiting for closure. Waiting for justice. I had spent years holding this family together, and somewhere deep inside, I believed that my father had seen everything. That he had protected me, at least on paper, if not in life. That belief kept me breathing. A week after the funeral, a lawyer came to our house. He was calm, professional, and painfully neutral, the kind of man who delivers storms with a straight face. We sat in the living room where I had once massaged my father's legs, where I had counted coins to buy medicines, where I had cried silently at night. My mother sat beside Zara. I sat alone. The lawyer cleared his throat and opened the file. "This is your father's will," he said. My heart raced. Not with greed, but with relief. I didn't want riches. I just wanted acknowledgement. A sign that my sacrifices had meaning. He began reading. The house. The savings. The land. All transferred to Zara. Every single word felt like a slap. I waited. Surely my name would come next. Surely there was more. Then he looked at me and said, "For Anaya, your father has left the storeroom at the back of the house." The storeroom. A dark, dusty space filled with broken furniture and forgotten junk. That was it. No explanation. No justification. Just silence. I felt the room spinning. My ears rang. I couldn't breathe. I looked at my mother, waiting for her to speak. To deny it. To say it was a mistake. She didn't. Her eyes avoided mine. That silence hurt more than the will itself. Later that night, when I finally found the strength to ask why, the truth came out like poison. My mother had taken my father to the lawyer months before his death. He wasn't fully conscious. He wasn't mentally stable. But he could still sign. And that was enough. She did what? I whispered. Yes, my mother said coldly. I had to think about the future. The future. Not mine. Anaya, she continued, you're a girl. You'll get married one day. Why should property go to you? I stared at her, unable to recognize the woman who once kissed my forehead. Zara is a doctor, she added proudly. She's an investment. She'll carry our name forward. You only worked hard. That was your duty. My duty. Years of sacrifice reduced to obligation. Before I could respond, Zara walked in. She didn't look uncomfortable. She didn't look guilty. She looked powerful. This is my house now, she said casually. You should start using the storeroom. Or maybe think about moving out. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because something inside me finally broke. The sister I had raised like a child. The sister whose fees I paid by selling my memories. The sister I defended from every hardship. She now looked at me like a burden. Like a servant. Like someone who had overstayed her welcome. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the storeroom, surrounded by dust and darkness, realizing one painful truth. I had given everything to people who never planned to give me anything back. And that was the moment I stopped being a victim. That was the moment I decided. I would not beg for a place in a house built on my blood. They thought I had nothing, they forgot I had myself. The job didn't change my life overnight. But it changed me. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise. Not because I had to, but because for the first time, my effort was building my future. The office was small. The work was exhausting. But no one looked at me like a burden. They looked at me like a worker. Like a professional. Like someone who mattered. I listened more than I spoke. I learned everything: accounts, client handling, documentation, negotiations. Years of managing a household had trained me better than any degree. After 6 months, my manager noticed. You work like someone who's afraid to fail, he said. I smiled. He had no idea. I started freelancing at night, bookkeeping for small shops, online assistance for overseas clients. My hostel room turned into a battlefield of ambition. No makeup. No distractions. Just focus. Money slowly started coming in. Not a lot. But enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to dream again. I moved out of the hostel into a small rented room. I bought myself a chair, my first piece of furniture. I sat on it for hours, planning. A year passed. I was promoted. Then offered a better role in another company. The woman who once begged shopkeepers for discounts was now discussing contracts. And then, fate decided to test my strength again. One afternoon, while returning from work, I saw my mother. She stood outside a clinic, holding her purse tightly, her face pale. She didn't see me at first. Time froze. The same woman who once told me property isn't for daughters now looked fragile. Older. Smaller. I wanted to hide. But she turned. Her eyes widened. "Anaya," she whispered. I didn't hug her. I didn't run. I simply stood there. "Zara is in trouble," she said quickly. "She needs money." The clinic partnership failed. Of course it did. I felt nothing. No anger. No joy. Just distance. "I'm sorry," I replied calmly. "I'm late for work." And I walked away. That night, I didn't cry. Because healing doesn't always come with forgiveness. Sometimes it comes with boundaries. Months later, my life barely resembled the one I left behind. I opened my own small consultancy, helping women manage finances and careers. Women like me. Women who were told their sacrifices were invisible. Clients grew. My name grew. And with success came silence from my past. No calls. No messages. Until one day, my phone rang. Unknown number. I already knew who it was. Some doors don't close loudly. They wait until the people who shut them come knocking. The people who break you always return to see if you're still broken. I stared at my phone as it vibrated on the table. Unknown number. But my heart recognized it before my mind did. I let it ring. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered. "Anaya," my mother's voice cracked through the speaker. "Please, we need to talk." The word need felt heavy. Once, I needed her. Once, I begged silently for her protection. Now the roles had changed. We met at a small cafe near my office. Neutral ground. No memories. No power games. My mother arrived first. She looked older than I remembered. Her hands trembled as she held the cup. The confidence that once crushed me was gone. Minutes later, Zara walked in. Still well-dressed. Still proud. But something was missing. Control. "Anaya," Zara said stiffly, avoiding my eyes. "You look different." I smiled politely. "I am." They didn't waste time. The house was under debt. The savings were gone. The property papers were tied in legal trouble. Zara's career had stumbled. Her reputation had cracks. And now, they wanted help. Not love. Not reconciliation. Help. "We're family," my mother said softly. "What's yours is ours." I leaned back in my chair. "No," I replied. "What was mine, you already took." Silence fell between us. Zara finally looked at me. "You wouldn't let your own mother suffer," she said. There it was. Guilt, the weapon that once ruled my life. But I had learned. "I suffered," I said calmly. "And you watched." My mother's eyes filled with tears. We made mistakes, she whispered. I nodded. Yes. And I paid for them. I took out a folder from my bag. Inside were documents. Legal advice. Property records. Proof of manipulation. I know about the forged signatures, I said quietly. I know everything. Their faces drained of color. I won't destroy you, I continued. But I won't save you either. I stood up. If you want help, I said, I can offer professional advice. Paid. Transparent. No emotions involved. They stared at me in disbelief. You've changed, Zara muttered. I smiled. No, I said. I finally arrived. I paid my bill and walked out. That night, I felt light. Not because I won. But because I chose myself, without hatred. Some people call it revenge. I call it freedom. And I knew. This wasn't the end yet. Because the final lesson wasn't for them. It was for me. Some endings don't need revenge, they need peace. After that cafe meeting, I didn't hear from them again. No calls. No messages. No guilt-filled voice notes. And for the first time in my life, there was silence. Not the heavy kind. Not the painful kind. But the peaceful kind. The kind that lets you breathe. I didn't go back to that house. I didn't chase explanations. I didn't seek closure from people who never gave me love. Because I finally understood something. Closure doesn't come from others. It comes from acceptance. I focused on my work. My consultancy grew. My team grew. My purpose grew. Women started coming to me with stories that sounded like my past. I gave everything to my family. They took my future. They called it my duty. And every time I heard those words, I saw my old self. I didn't just give them advice. I gave them hope. I told them, you are not born to suffer. You are not born to be used. You are not born to disappear inside other people's lives. Slowly, my name became a symbol, not of success, but of survival. Not of revenge, but of resilience. One evening, after a long day at work, I sat alone in my apartment. Not a mansion. Not luxury. But peace. My peace. I looked around and realized. Everything in this room was built by me. Every chair. Every wall. Every dream. No one owned it. No one controlled it. No one could take it away. I thought about my father. Not with anger. Not with bitterness. But with forgiveness. Because sometimes people are weak, not evil. But weakness still destroys lives. I thought about my mother. And I understood something painful. She didn't hate me. She just never valued me. And that difference changes everything. I thought about Zara. And I felt nothing. No love. No hate. No attachment. Just distance. Because some people are only chapters. Not the story. Today, when people ask me about my family, I smile and say, I come from a broken place, but I didn't stay broken. I am not the girl who lived in a storeroom. I am not the woman who begged for fairness. I am not the sister who sacrificed everything and got nothing. I am Anaya. A woman who lost everything. And still built everything again. From nothing. From pain. From courage. And if someone asks me what my biggest achievement is, it's not my business. It's not my success. It's not my money. It's this. I didn't become bitter. I didn't become cruel. I didn't become empty. I became free. Because real victory is not watching others fall. It's rising so high that their shadows can no longer reach you.